Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 6 articles for you in this episode, and it all has to do with this Russian hacking deal. The manipulation from our White House to try to stage a soft coup on our government. First article I have for you is off of conservativetribune.com, and it states, Obama says Russia did not rig the election for Trump. Now, isn't that rich? After he started all this foolishness here just a few days ago in an attempt to stir up the electors and spend more taxpayers' money on a investigation that is going to turn up exactly zip. He needs to have to pay all that money back to the government since he stirred this mess up. But here's how the article reads. It would appear as though the liberal media and haters of President-elect Donald Trump will need to find a new avenue of attack him, as the titular head of the Democratic Party just pulled the rug out from under their current narrative. Speaking seriously in a serious-minded interview with that paragon of serious journalism, Trevor Noah of Comedy Central's The Daily Show, President Barack Obama downplayed the allegations of Russian hacking of the 2016 presidential election to sway the result toward Trump. We were frankly more concerned in the run-up of the election to the possibilities of vote tampering, which we did not see evidence of, Obama explained, according to Breitbart, and we're confident that we can guard against. Though Obama did acknowledge some interference by hackers purportedly directed by Moscow, he also downplayed the effect of the hacks and questioned the media's focus on them. What happened to our political system were some emails and released ended up being the overwhelming story and the constant source of coverage, breathless coverage that was depicted as somehow damning in all sorts of ways, when the truth of the matter was it was fairly routine stuff, Obama remarked. Obama also stated that the recent news really should come as no surprise, as Russia has been trying to influence American elections since the days of Soviet Union, according to Vulture. Is about the state, or try that again, what is it about the state of our democracy where the leaks of what were frankly not very interesting emails that didn't have any explosive information in them ended up being an obsession, Obama asked, and the facts that the Russians were doing this was not an obsession. Now I'm going to interrupt right there. How do we know that there wasn't anything in those emails that wasn't explosive information? They haven't even really all been viewed yet. You know, and if there's not anything explosive in them, why are they being kept so secretive? You know, why aren't they all just being released to the public so that we can all just have a look at them? Why is stuff being retracted out of them? There was obviously some information in there that was confidential that should not have been able to been hacked into. Had it not been on her personal server, it wouldn't have been hacked into. Anyway, I digress. Let's go on with this. It says, as for the intelligence review he ordered regarding the allegations of Russian hacking, Obama stated that was mostly just to tie together all of the loose threads revealed in prior investigations, as his administration has been looking into the notion for the past several months. When the DNC got hacked, we immediately assigned our intelligence community, our law enforcement, to investigate what had happened, explained Obama, according to the UK Telegraph. And we determined and announced in October that it was the consensus of all the intelligence agencies and law enforcement that organizations affiliated with Russian intelligence were responsible for the hacking of the DNC materials that were being leaked, he said. That was a month before the election. That was not a secret. To be sure, Obama didn't let Russia off the hook for supposedly hacking the DNC or political operatives, though he also didn't offer any sort of concrete evidence. He was also sure to take a shot at Trump by recalling his joke that Russia should search for the deleted emails of failed Democrat presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, since the American media seemingly had no interest in finding them. Nevertheless, the media narrative that Russia hacked the election and somehow stole it from Trump on Trump's behalf has pretty much been run into the ground without a shred of evidence. The next article that I have for you is off of the thoughtproject.com, and it says Putin lays down the gauntlet to Obama over hacking claims. Show proof or shut up. Washington, D.C., after the outlandish claims made by the U.S. officials that Russian President Vladimir Putin personally hacked the U.S. presidential election, Putin has had enough of the relentless barrage of unproven allegations and has laid down the gauntlet to the U.S. President Obama. Either stop talking about it or finally prove some evidence. Otherwise, it looks indecent, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters in Tokyo on Friday. Then Barack Obama on Thursday announced that the United States will take action at the time and place of our choosing in response to unverified CIA claims of hacking by the Russian government, an allegation which remains unproven and extremely suspect. He noted that a U.S. response may be explicit and publicized, and that some of it may not be. The Russian government responded by warning that Obama's threat to retaliate to the alleged cyber attack without providing any evidence would be a violation of both American and international law. Peskov hinted of an open-ended escalation if Obama chooses to launch a cyber war against Russia at today's scheduled press conference. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, citing a report by NBC News that alleged U.S. officials believe with a high level of confidence Putin was personally involved in a secret campaign to sway the election in Trump's favor, said he was dumbstruck by the allegation. I think this is just silly, and the futility of the attempt to convince somebody of this is absolutely obvious, according to state television outlet Russia 24. Of course, that is the game that's being played by the U.S. Lots of allegations with little to no disclosure of evidence to back the accusations. CIA and an anonymous leak attempted to conflate alleged Russian hacking with Trump's election win. Both the FBI and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the ODNI, have dismissed the CIA's intelligence community assessment, a complete lack of evidence of a specific intent. Increasingly, it looks as if the entire Russia did it conflation is an attempt by deep state military industrial complex interests to destroy any potential rapprochement between the U.S. and Russia once President-elect Trump takes office. Additionally, according to an NBC report, the Eurasia Group, a team of political risk consultants, noted on Friday that they believe the Obama administration is likely to engage in action which will likely create significant barriers for the Trump White House anticipated reconciliation with Russia. It's unlikely that U.S. intelligence reports will change Trump's intention to initiate a rapprochement with Moscow, but the congressional response following its own investigation could obstruct the new administration's effort, Eurasia Group analyst reported. On Thursday, Peskov told the AP that the allegations against Putin were ultimately laughable nonsense, while Russia Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova noted that Western media were acting as a shill and mouthpiece of the various power groups. Zakharova went on to state, "It's not the general public who's being manipulated. It's the general public nowadays can distinguish the truth that is manipulating themselves." In a humorous move, poking fun at the lack of credibility of the U.S. administration and suspect nature of Russia did it narrative being driven by Western corporate media stooges, WikiLeaks posted on Twitter that Obama should submit any Putin documents to WikiLeaks to be authenticated to our standards if he wants them to be seen as credible. The message to the U.S. administration is clear. Russia doesn't believe you, and neither do the American people. With strong accusations must come clear, concise evidence to match, and thus far none has been provided. Increasingly, it looks like military intelligence interests are colluding to push their agenda in a covert attempt to preside over and dictate policy to the U.S. civilian government. The next article I have for you is off of SputnikNews.com, and it is entitled Former CIA Analyst, Russian Hacking Allegations of U.S. Election Don't Add Up. The Central Intelligence Agency has claimed that Russia's interference in the U.S. election to help President-elect Donald Trump win, but one of their former officers has detailed why the agency's claims do not add up. Speaking to Brian Becker on Sputnik Radio Loud and Clear program, former CIA analyst Ray McGovern asserted that it appears that the email releases from Democratic Party are not hacks but leaks. Today they are talking about having overwhelming circumstantial evidence. Now we have overwhelming technical evidence. We have the former technical director of the National Security Agency that tells us that this is really just drivel. McGovern said of Bill Biney, a former highly placed intelligent official with the NSA turned whistleblower. This is really just an operation to blacken the Russians and to blame the defeat of Hillary Clinton on Russian. McGovern explained that global communications are collected either through the NSA or an intelligence operation of one of our allies. Why do we say that? Well, the NSA has the capability and uses it all the time to find out who is sending what emails to whom, he said. Can they do that? In all cases, the answer is yes, they can. So everything is collected. It's like a dragnet. Everything on this planet is collected. And if it's not within this country, we have our allies, the Five Eyes, and 7 or 8 other cooperative intelligence services that pick up where we leave off. The former CIA official assert that the Democratic Party or Clinton campaign emails have been hacked. The NSA would have that information. McGovern also stated that the smear campaign against Russia is an artificially contrived attempt to put a poison pill in Trump's attempt to move toward a more decent relationship with the Kremlin. Clearly detailed how the email releases are actually a leak, not a hack. A leak is when someone physically takes data out of an organization and gives it to some other person or organization, like Ed Snowden did, like Chelsea Manning did, he said. It's really hard to detect because there's no electronic signature. A hack, on the other hand, he explained, is when someone from a remote location electronically penetrates systems and firewalls and then illegally extracts data. Biney and McGovern are not the first to have worked in the intelligence community to step forward arguing against CIA claims of Russian hacking. On Monday, Sputnik reported that former CIA officer and current executive director of the Council for the National Interest, Philip Giraldi, asserted that evidence is lacking in the claims being made by the CIA. Some anonymous government officials are reportedly conceding that the direct link from the Russian government to the actual hackers and then on to the disseminators of the information is lacking. Giraldi wrote, if the intelligence community is nevertheless claiming that they know enough to conclude that it was directed from top levels of the Russian government, then they should be able to produce documentary or other evidence of officials ordering the operation to take place. Giraldi explained that if the CIA wants to maintain credibility, it must produce the report containing the evidence. Evidence must be clear, even if the document contains redactions. Do they have that kind of information? It is clear that they do not, in spite of their assertion of high confidence, Giraldi said, and suggestion by Republican Representative Devin Nunes, a persistent critic of Russian spying, who is on the White House Intelligence Committee, that the information they do have consists of innuendo and is largely circumstantial. Next article I have for you is off of Common Dreams, and it says, U.S. Intel vets dispute Russia hacking claims. As the hysteria about Russian alleged interference in the U.S. election grows, a key mystery is why U.S. intelligence would rely on circumstantial evidence when it has the capability for hard evidence, says U.S. intelligence veterans. A New York Times report on Monday alluding to overwhelming circumstantial evidence leading to CIA to believe the Russian President Vladimir Putin deploys computer hackers with the goal of tipping the election to Donald J. Trump is sadly evidence-free. This is no surprise because harder evidence of a technical nature points to an inside leak, not hacking by Russians or anyone else. Monday's Washington Post reports that Senator James Lankford, Republican of Oklahoma, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, has joined other senators in calling for a bipartisan investigation of suspected cyber intrusion by Russia. Reading our short memo could save the senator from endemic partisanship, expense, and unnecessary delay. In what follows, we draw on decades of senior level experience with emphasis on cyber intelligence and security to cut through uninformed, largely partisan fog. Far from hiding behind anonymity, we are proud to speak out with the hope of gaining an audience appropriate to what we merit, given our long labors in government and other areas of technology. And corny though it may sound these days, our ethos as intelligence professionals remains simply to tell it like it is without fear or favor. We have gone through the various claims about hacking. For us, it's child's play to dismiss them. The email disclosures in question are the result of a leak, not a hack. Here's the difference between leaking and hacking. A leak is when someone physically takes the data out of the organization and gives it to some other person or organization, as Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning did. A hack is when someone in a remote location electronically penetrates operating systems, firewalls, or any other cyber protection system, and then extracts the data. All signs point to leaking, not hacking. If hacking were involved, the National Security Agency would know it, and know both sender and recipient. Since leaking requires physical removing data on a thumb drive, for example, the only way such data can be copied and removed with no electronic trace of what has left the server is via a physical storage device. Again, NSA is able to identify both the sender and the recipient when hacking is involved. Thanks largely to the material released by Edward Snowden, we can provide a full picture of NSA's extensive domestic data collection network, including upstream programs like Fairview, Stormbrew, and Blarney. These include at least 30 companies in the U.S. operating the fiber networks that carry the public switched telephone network as well as the World Wide Web. This gives NSA unparalleled access to data flowing within the U.S. and data going out to the rest of the world, as well as data transiting the U.S. In other words, any data that is passed from servers of the Democratic National Committee of Hillary Rodham Clinton or any other server in the U.S. is collected by the NSA. These data transfers carry destination addresses in what are called packets, which enable the transfer to be traced and followed through the network. Packets are emails being passed across the World Wide Web, are broken down into smaller segments called packets. These packets are passed into network to be delivered to a recipient. This means the packets need to be reassembled and at the receiving end. To accomplish this, All the packets that form a message are assigned an identifying number that enables the receiving end to collect them for reassembly. Moreover, each packet carries the originator and ultimate receiver Internet Protocol number, either IPv4 or IPv6. That enables the network to route the data. When email packets leave the U.S., the other Five Eyes countries, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and 7 or 8 additional countries participating with the U.S. in bulk collection of everything on this planet, would also have a record of where those email packets went after leaving the U.S. These collection resources are extensive, and there's some attached slides here that you can click on, take a look at them. It says they include hundreds of trace route programs that trace the path of packets going across the network, and tens of thousands of hardware and software implants and switching and servers that manage the network. Any emails being extracted from one server going to another would be, at least in part, recognizable and traceable by all these resources. The bottom line is that NASA would know where and how any hacked emails from the DNC, HRC, or any other servers were routed through the network. This process can sometimes require a closer look into the routing to sort out immediate clients, but in this end server and recipient can be traced across the network. The various ways in which usually anonymous spokespeople for the U.S. intelligence agencies are equivocating, saying things like our best guess or our opinion or our estimate, etc., show that the emails alleged to have been hacked cannot be traced across the network. Given NSA's extensive trace capability, we conclude that DNC and HRC servers alleged to have been hacked were, in fact, the evidence that should be there is absence. Otherwise, forward. Since this could be done without any danger to sources and methods. Thus, we conclude that the emails were hacked by an insider. It was the case with Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning. Such an insider could be anyone in a government department or agency with access to NSA database, or perhaps someone within the DNC. As for comments to the media as to what CIA believes, the reality is that CIA is almost totally dependent on NSA for ground truth in the communications arena. Thus, it remains something of a mystery why media is being fed strange stories about hijacking, or try that again, about hacking that have no basis in fact. And some, given what we know of NSA's existing capabilities, that's what it says, it should be begs belief that NSA would be unable to identify anyone, Russian or not, attempting to interfere in the U.S. election by hacking. The next article I have for you is off of Liberty Writers News, and it says, FBI just stabbed Trump in the back. Look what Obama just did. Working overtime to steal the election from Trump. It's up to us to stop him by sharing this article. The FBI just reversed its decision. Russia hacked the election for Donald Trump. The FBI is now backing up CIA assessment that Russian hackers helped Trump. Coup. The FBI has indicated that CIA's assessment is accurate. They had previously said that CIA lacked evidence necessary to conclusion that they did. They're trying to steal the election. This is such a coordinated attack in the media between these politicians, and they got a video here. It says, watch Obama say something similar today via CNN, so you can pull that up and take a look at that if you want to. All these URLs are in the description of this video. It says, we need to fight against this attack on the validity of our elections. The Democrats are throwing the election and pushing a war with Russia. Christmas is to make America great again. And the last one that I have in this episode is off of freethoughtproject.com, and it says, Judge Napolitano exposes lies on air. U.S. intelligence was behind the hacks, not Russia. And this is how this one reads. Judge Andrew Napolitano, currently being considered by Trump for the Supreme Court, dropped a bombshell in an interview with Fox and Friends Thursday, saying sources within the U.S. intelligence community, not Russia, had provided documents from the DNC and John Podesta for publication by WikiLeaks. Ernst was as much in jest with what he just said as Donald Trump was when he said during the campaign, "Do all the hacking you want." Napolitano said of remarks the White House spokesman gave, suggesting Trump had been aware of Russia punitive meddling throughout the election cycle. No one could have taken that seriously, he says, breaking down the absurdly evidence-free claim by unnamed CIA officials that Russian hackers, official state actors, had penetrated Democratic Party systems to expose information damaging to Hillary Clinton, thereby throwing the election in favor of Donald Trump. Napolitano asked several pertinent questions. Incentive to prevent Mrs. Clinton from becoming president of the United States, whose agents had their real identities and locations exposed by the reckless manner, who had all this material without having to steal any codes. The United States intelligence agents, the judge answered himself, who did not want this woman in charge of federal government and exposing more agents and resources and undercover assets in the Middle East to who they truly are and where they were. Napolitano told Fox and Friends crew one's feelings about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks are irrelevant given the publishing organization track record of authenticity, and that the content of the leaked documents and emails speaks for itself. Assange revealed truthful information, he continued. No one's denying that the stuff that he revealed was real. Look, there's one spy agency, the NSA. It produces the raw data. The FBI looks at it one way. The CIA looks at it and interprets it another way. The CIA may have a desire to make Mrs. Clinton look good or Donald Trump look bad. Wait, politics? One host interrupted. Right. Their boss is Barack Obama appointee. There's just not enough evidence to point a finger at Moscow. Further on the subject of intelligence assessment, Judge Napolitano noted rivalries between and within agencies, proclivities toward certain political agendas, and competition can color findings and analysis. This is what he says. Look, there's a whole world out there that's below the fold, below the radar scope that we don't know about, which is the intelligence community. Between them, they have ideological predilections. They have the same shortcomings as the rest of us. And intelligence, raw data, if it were here, it would be difficult for the four of us to interpret it. But I can tell you this, two groups or two people looking at the same data can read the same thing and interpret it in 180 degrees differently from each other. That's what happened here. So when Donald Trump says the Russians did not hack Mrs. Clinton, he's right. Somebody leaked from Mrs. Clinton's emails, but nobody went in there and altered her operational systems. Hacking does. Napolitano's assessment, the leaks weren't hacks, and that someone inside the United States was responsible, is shared by a growing number of people, including former British ambassador to Uzbekistan, Craig Murray. Murray, a personal friend of Assange's, who called the claims of Russian hacking bullshit, and The Guardian told the Daily Mail neither of the leaks came from the Russians. The source had legal access to the information. The documents came from inside leaks, not hacks. On the blog, Murray elaborated further. He says, I have watched incredulous as the CIA's blatant lie has grown and grown to be a story. Blatant because the CIA has made no attempt whatsoever to substantiate it. There is no Russian involvement in the leak of the email showing Clinton's corruption. Yes, this rubbish has been the lead today in Washington Post, in the US, and the Guardian here, and was the lead item on the BBC main news. I suspect it is leading the American broadcast also. A little simple logic demolishes the CIA's claims. The CIA claim they know the individual involved. Yet under Obama, the USA has been absolutely ruthless in its persecution of whistleblowers and its pursuit of foreign hackers through extradition. We are supposed to believe that in the most vital instances imaginable, an attempt by a foreign power to destabilize the US election, even though the CIA knows who the individuals are, nobody's going to be arrested or extradited, or, if in Russia, made subject to yet more banking and other restrictions against Russian individuals. Plainly, it stinks. The anonymous source claims if we know who it was Russians, are beneath contempt. He added, the continued ability of the mainstream media to claim the leaks lost Clinton the election because of Russia, while still never acknowledging the truth the leaks reveal is clapastic. And hold on just a second. Sorry about that. Had to silence my co-host, the cockatiel. It goes on here and it says, but perhaps the strongest dissenting voice to Judge Napolitano came from Julian Assange himself, who emerged from a near blackout on public appearance in an audio interview with Sean Hannity on Thursday to confirm the documents published by WikiLeaks did not come from Russia or any Russian state agent. Our source is not the Russian government, Assange decisively told Hannity. In other words, let me be clear, Hannity clarified. Russia did not give you the Podesta documents or anything from the DNC? That's correct, the WikiLeaks founder replied. Assange also noted the interview Murray is not authorized to speak on behalf of WikiLeaks, but maintained the two are close personal friends. Murray, like Napolitano, pointed to WikiLeaks' proven credibility in its leaked documents and explained, now, both Julian Assange and I have stated definitively the leak does not come from Russia. Do we credibly have access? Yes, very obviously. Very few people can be said to definitively have access to the source of the leak. The people saying it is not Russia are those who do have access. After access, you consider truthfulness. Do Julian Assange and I have a reputation for truthfulness? Well, in 10 years, not one of the tens of thousands of documents WikiLeaks has released has had its authenticity successfully challenged. As for me, I have a reputation for inconvenient truth-telling. Assange even noted coming forward to denounce the Russian hacking allegations constituted an uncomfortable and unpleasant but highly necessary decision. WikiLeaks, he explained, does not like to reveal any information about its source unless the situation inevitably demands it. Here, in order to prevent a distraction attack against our publications, Assange asserted, we've had to come out and say, no, it's not a state party. Stop trying to distract that in that way and pay attention to the content of the publication. Hannity probed, so in other words, when you say state party, it wasn't another state like Russia or some other country. Correct, Assange says. Indeed, the provocative accusations being hurled at Russia, and now even against Russian President Vladimir Putin, appear to be once again summoning the military conflict with the West. Critical, critical, reasoned assessments of the CIA claims of Russian hacking the U.S. elections, like those of Judge Napolitano, Craig Murray, and Julian Assange, are imperative, lest the country be overcome with evidence-denied Red Scare paranoia, similar to 1950s McCarthyism. All this is that it is aimed at promoting further conflict with Russia, Murray pointedly wrote. This puts everyone in danger for the sake of more profits for the arms and security industries. Of course, bigger budgets for the CIA. And there's some video in this if you'd like to pull that up and take a look at that. So there you have the information that I have on this hacking foolishness to stage the soft coup.